called me and asked me to talk about some lessons from sport to this audience at this time. I had a massive smile on my face because I thought there's so much stuff that I could share. And then Richard told me I had 5 minutes and my face slightly dropped. There are so many concepts that are relevant. I could talk about how important it is to play the ball at your feet, something that gets talked about a lot in sport whilst continuing to scan the horizon. I could talk about the importance of controlling the controllables. I could talk about the mindset of elite athletes and the research that's been done that shows what it is about their mindset that really drives their success. But actually, and I promise there was no liaising between myself and Casper because I've only met Casper half an hour ago, I'm actually going to focus on communication and in particular the importance of language. To set the context, I'm going to take you back to August the 19th, 2016, years before the pandemic was heard of. It's the Rio Olympics, and specifically it's the final of the women's hockey. Great Britain are playing in their first ever gold medal match, and they're playing against the Dutch, who are the best in the world. Get the first goal, 1-0 up, but before we know it, we're 2-1 down. Krista Cullen, one of the long-standing members of the team, looks across to one of her players whose head has gone down. Krista has 1 second to say something to that player amongst the hurly-burly and frantic pace of the match that's going to have a positive impact on that player's performance. Thankfully, because of all the work the squad had done around language and words, she says the right thing in that 1 second, the player's head goes up, and of course we end up winners. Different sport, same concept, cricket. A new head coach of the England cricket team making his first address to the team and the coaches. And he starts off by saying, I'm going to be introducing a new performance-enhancing drug. And it's the best performance-enhancing drug in the market. You can imagine the looks and the what's going through everyone's head around him. And he goes, the best thing about this drug is it's completely free and there are no side effects. He goes on to explain what he's talking about, again, is the power of language. And he quotes Rudyard Kipling, words are, of course, the most powerful drug used by mankind. Final example for those of you who might follow rugby, Eddie Jones famously says, every conversation that you have with a player, you're either adding to their performance or taking away from it. Slightly more tangible, I've got 3 teenage sons who play a huge amount of sport. One of them's cricket. And how often do you hear batsmen or batswomen being sent out to the pitch and the coach or the parent saying, don't lose your wicket cheaply, don't get out for a duck, don't get out first ball. And research has shown that the message that lands is losing your wicket cheaply, getting out first ball, getting out for a duck. If you flip it and say, stand tall, focus, concentrate, protect your wicket, that is the message that lands. So I think in these times where you are having fewer interactions with your people, the conversations you have are possibly shorter, you have to be so careful in the language that you are using. Just to finish off, that's very much obviously short-term immediate. I wanted just to make reference to the more medium and long-term, and actually again it chimes very well with what Casper's just said. I'm going to use an example from sports leadership, and really what I'm talking about is the importance of clear, consistent, sustained messaging. Now I'm going to use the example of a chap called Tim Hollingsworth, who is CEO at Sport England. Sport England is the organisation responsible really for grassroots and community sport, getting people active, getting the nation moving. Not UK sport, that's Olympics and Paralympics, Sport England, grassroots. Now, he came into post last year and has been very clear in his messaging from the word go that he wants Sport England to address what he calls the stubborn inequalities. Sadly, there are sections of our society that do not have access to or do such high levels of sport and physical activity as other sections of society. And these are proving really difficult inequalities to shift. And unfortunately, these have been reinforced through the pandemic. But Tim and Sport England have been incredibly clear with their messaging, how they want to address these stubborn inequalities. They're playing a long game. It's not going to happen overnight. But yesterday, despite the new rules around reducing indoor sport, for example, disability sport has been exempted. And that's an immediate win from the real focus and clear, consistent messaging around the stubborn inequalities. So the point there really, very much like Casper said, in these uncertain times, providing clear, consistent messaging, I think is really important. Thanks, Richard.